Hi, I'm Curious Cass, and this is Curiosity Junkie. Today's guest is here to teach us how to operate from a place where no one, no thing has power over us, and that there are no victims. She says the liberation from that is immense. Please welcome Josephine Sorciere. Hi, Josephine Sorciere. Welcome to the Curiosity Junkie podcast.
Oh, so great to be here. Thanks, Cassie. It really is a fabulous opportunity to chat with you and for people to explore my journey and who I am and the work that I do. So it's great.
Yes. I found you on Insight Timer as a teacher, and I just became super curious to really kind of dive into understanding what you do. And my big thing is I love the journey of how someone got to where they are, where they become a teacher, or the path that leads them to helping others. So I want to hear a little bit about your story before we dive in with a lot of questions.
Sure. Okay. So I was brought up in England. I spent the first 30 years of my life in England. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional, abusive household. It had all sorts going on. And basically at 18, I lost everything that I knew. My mother died. I had to leave home. I started university. My brother left. I had no home. And 6 weeks later, I started university at 18 with no place to call home. So that was a bit sort of thrown in the deep end. So I did my first degree. My first degree is in chartered surveying, chartered surveying rather, in property. And it was like throw in the deep. Just keep busy. Just do that. And I made that vow to myself. I will always be fiercely independent, and I want to be financially dependent. And basically, I want to be man. Be in charge of myself.
Right.
Don't we haven't all been through that? So in my early 20s, I was very oscillating up and down. That's when, the antidepressants were there, the suicide attempts were there, and all of that going on in the early 20s. And I just continued to throw myself into my work. I graduated out of property at after the property crash. There was no jobs in that. So I developed my career as a management accountant. And so my fascination for numbers and forecasting has always been there. And I love it, it's like, and I still love numbers. I'm a bit of a nerd with that. And so I worked in some blue chip, high level corporate jobs in England, BBC, British Airways and things, and just striving. And towards the end of the 1990s, I was like, I've got to get out of this. I don't know what's going on. And I had flatmated with a friend from New Zealand. And cut a long story short, I decided to move to the other side of the world in 2001 with me and 2 suitcases. And all my stuff went into storage and came to the Antipodes and spent from 01 to beginning of 08 in New Zealand, in Auckland. I did work a little while, but it was in about 03 that I had a massive change to my health. I was introduced to a health product that made a massive difference to my health. I used to love the alcohol, and I smoked for many years, and all that stuff that we do just trying to avoid what's really going on. And I had a massive health change in it, cut the cigarettes out, radically got to grips because of this product. And this product was like, well, sell it to others kind of thing, MLM. It was my intro. So that was my intro to self-awakening, self-development, that kind of thing. So I'd always done very academia, intellect stuff with my 2 degrees, but I needed to explore. So that was the door opening. Right. So I got very focused on health and wellness and business and entrepreneurship. And so I said to myself, right, within a year, I'm going to quit corporate and have my own business, which I did. And with zero money coming in from, from business ventures. Basically from 03, which is when I left corporate, to now, I've had a range of different businesses. I've still love my health and wellness focus in everything that I do. I've done internet marketing. I've learned, coaching. I've learned, you name it, I've done it. And at the same time, I've done all the things in terms of modalities of healing. Read all the books, done all the things, followed all the people. And it's been hard yards to really move forward with that. Yes, all those things helped. But it was very much on what I call the light grid, the light grid of let's all try and fit in, and we are all one. And very much that, well, we just need to meditate to get out of our heads. And, it helped, but there was pieces of that just didn't sit with me. I'm a loner. I've never fitted in. I've never understood how people are meant to operate on this earth. I just, it's beyond me. And, my pattern was very oscillating. I could have extremely, just nothing could be better, to the plummet of the low. And this was continuous, especially with my monthly cycle and knowing this. And so I was doing all the healing, but nothing, it was helping, absolutely helping. I got out of the real anger I had in my 20s that I was sent to a therapist to deal with, all these things. Of course, they all help. We pick away at these bits. But I just wasn't getting the peace, and I had met my husband through work in 2003, and we moved to Australia, to Sydney, first of all, at the beginning of 2008. So at the end of 2007, we got married in 2007. At the end of 2007, he was offered a job in Australia. And so we came, and we found out he got his job on the day I found out I was pregnant with my first child. So trying to get a visa sorted within 3 months to move. Thank God I didn't have morning sickness. And pack. So basically my first trimester with my first child was packing a house, moving country, and not having a visa to go to. So, really trusting in that process. So through all this, I was doing my business and my self-development in this. And I now have 2 beautiful boys. I left my husband in 2014. We have a most amicable parenting relationship that I know of. We holiday together. We do all that. So that is possible, people.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but for all that time, I just kept going with these things. And then just before I left him, I was introduced. I used to love listening to webinars. I would listen to webinars like a junkie. I was like, my God, I just need to feed, because I'm such a curious being like you are.
Yes.
And I heard a lady talking about soul realms, and it was like, I have to know more. When something hits a button within you and it resonates so much, it's like, I have to know more. So I booked in with her and subsequently worked with her as a mentor. She is my mentor for 6 months, a year, I don't know, however long that was. And when I understood my soul realms, it was like, and I was taken on a journey to connect in, it was like somebody's finally shown me the power cord, where to plug in. And we are just not shown that. It's not talked about. It's not, on the light grid, it's all like, well, we just got to sit back and find it within ourselves. But it's like your phone doesn't operate without plugging in the cord. So how are we meant to? Right. So for me, that was a massive breakthrough. So 2 weeks after I left my husband, I set up my own business called Your Universal Self.
Your Universal Self. Okay, that was your
Universal Self.
Yeah,
that's fun. And it was like, discover the truth of who you really are. And that line is still very much true to the work that I do today. So basically, over that period of time, for about 5 years, I was doing soul readings. I was doing Chaldean numerology, which is an ancient system of numbers. So I bring myself back to the numbers, my fascination for numbers, and just really helping people understand who they are, what the traits are, what the challenges are, and then going into energetic work where I transmute the energy within people, release those blocks, and encode back to their original soul realm frequencies. And the fundamentals of my energy work, the principles have not changed, and yet the depth of my work is exponential now. So that's how I ended up doing soul work. And yet I was still kind of like, there's still not something missing, And then I took time out, and 3 years ago I created a silk scarf business called Prasamana.
Wow.
And as a sort of sidekick to what I do, and I also have another business with energy protection products called Protect Your Energy. So I'm an energy worker, there's no doubt about that. And 2 years ago I was like, okay, I need to call in a mentor that can help me bring all these businesses together and really, go deep on it. and not one but two turned up. And long story short, new body of work, thrown in the deep end. Josephine Sorciere was birthed, as in, this is who I really am. This is the all of who I am. This is me standing here in the depth of my work. And why do I do what I do? Because I don't want other people to go through the 17 years it took me of keep searching, eternally searching, and wondering when they're not fitting in, and wondering at why it's not working and what's the missing pieces. They've done all the books, they've done all the reading, they've done all the healing, and they're still going, these masks that I'm wearing are so heavy, but I have to pretend, and especially those that are in coaching and healing, it's a very heavy burden to wear that mask of inauthenticity when you're trying to explain to your clients how they can feel better when certain times of the month you're like, all right, let me get out of here.
Right.
It's so when you're asking, that's my journey and why do I do what I want to do? Because I rip those masks off people. I shatter the illusions that they see in the mirror. We've got to get off the mirror, got to get out of reflection. We've got to go through the mirror into the portals and discover what's beyond. So that's my journey. That's a little snippet insight of what I do, which I know that we'll explore further. So yeah, that's what's taken me for the first 50 years of my life.
Hey, that is one of the reasons I like to do this podcast, because it's kind of like as I really started discovering more about myself and what makes me tick and why I react the way I react, and just how I can be better and more at peace with who I am. I have come across some great teachers, and I always go, oh my gosh, if more people knew about this, how amazing would the world be? So every time I come on something new, I get so excited because I'm like, I want to share this. I want to learn about it, but I also want to share it with as many people as possible. So let's dive into what it is exactly that you do. And I know you have some cool stuff coming up, so I don't want to forget to talk about that, but I really want to understand what it is you do and how it works for someone.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, when we talk about what is it I do and how it works, we're in our mental space. We're like trying to comprehend something at a practical level.
Right.
The work I do as a quantum alchemist is way beyond the mind's comprehension. It is, I'm an energy worker. I'm a master of the energy grids in the different dimensions. And I don't want to go too way out there and woo-woo, because others people either go, oh my God, what is that? Or, oh my God, I'm gone. and to be honest, I'm not attached to that either, because I speak my truth and I'm not attached to, where people are at with that. So I defined the term portalism, and I work through time, space, dimensions, and realities to bring all of you back to this moment in this reality through the quantum, so that you can actually dissolve and transmute, not just manage the wounding and the shadows or whatever you want to call it. You actually just dissolve it and turn it back into your power to ignite and encode your own cosmic coding, because you all got your own unique patterning, back to your original print that has existed through all times and space in the quantum. Okay, so how do I work? I have an ability to see directly through to who you really are, what the, get to the core of what's holding you back, the truth. And I don't mince my words. If I'm delivering the truth, and here's something that, I refer to shadow, and I don't call it dark. I call shadows when we live in fear. The light grid is what people are talking about, and then my work is beyond that, and what I call the dark is the unseen, the area that we don't know about. Dark is not the back end of shadow. Dark is the opposite end of the spectrum. Wow. And that's why on Insight Timer, on my own podcasts, where people listen to my activations and they're like, oh my God, what is this? Because it's in the new realm that nobody's talking about, very few are talking about. and have access to and can understand it. So I describe myself as a dark worker rather than a light worker, right? And yet I understand both. I've been through both. My coding is getting back to the depths in the dark, in the unseen, in the real dark feminine essence. And at the same time, what's not talked about on the light grid, we're talking about, the feminine rising and the goddess, that's cool, but where's the masculine energy? Where is that masculine energy? And it's been forgotten. It's like, oh, well, we don't need them. We're just going to be in our power. And it's not how we work. So to go back to your question, what do I do? I'm a teacher, a wisdom, a wisdom holder, and I work with the energy to bring those original codes back to the individual so that they can go through the portals, tap into their prodigy that's beyond the light grid, that's been waiting for centuries, flicked on, come alive, because there's no coincidence you've chosen right now at this time to be here. So it's about time you tapped into your abilities and gifts beyond anything your mind can currently comprehend, into being change makers, legacy leaders, and dark disruptors on the planet.
Right.
So that's what I do.
I like it, and it's mind blowing. Maybe one of the other things I really like to try to debunk is the fear piece of the unknown. When we don't understand, we don't know anything about something, we just go to a place of fear because we don't know anything about it. So rather than diving in and trying to learn about it, we just go, oh, that's scary. Stay far away from that. Yeah. So when you say dark, you come from more of the dark side. I could see a lot of people immediately wanting to, kind of like what you said, shut down and go, let me just slowly back away from that.
Yeah, exactly.
I go, okay, how does that, what is that? And how does that eventually help someone, coming from there?
Yeah, because when I teach my clients how to once and for all recognize when they're coming from shadow or in their power, and learn to actually alchemize, hence being the alchemist, what's going on from their shadow to step into their power, where they operate from that place of no one and no thing has power over me, and that there are no victims. The liberation you have from that is immense. And so for me, it's getting across to people that they must be ready to go into the unknown to find the freedom. There is no freedom in needing to know the details, the hows, the what ifs, the unknown. Because the minute you shut down to the freedom and you activate your fear, you stay stuck. And that's what I talk about, shattering the illusions that you're held shackled in from cultural conditioning. Where, well, it's not safe, I've got to stay safe and I've got to stay in the light because otherwise, all of that. I'm all about getting out of shadow. I'm all about getting out of fear. And I take my clients through to a space of the complete unknown where they can just, oh my God, I finally arrived. The liberation, the expansiveness, the connection, the vibration of pure aliveness, that's the pure feminine essence that people are craving. That's what the goddess activations ignite. And it's from that space, once you've experienced it, do you come back up to work with the light, as it were, with your masculine and feminine, to operate from a space of freedom, of expansion, of liberation out of the fear. But most people are, first of all, do not want to do the work, are afraid of the responsibility that comes with it, and they like predictability and comfort zone. And that's fine. They can stay where they are. It's not who I work with. I'm not here to convince or cajole anyone.
Right. Good for you.
It's about the, I talk about flipping the lid of perspective on everything. The very thing that we fear is the thing we must go into, and that's, feel the fear and do it anyway. But this is taking it to the next level. Yeah. And it's about when you learn to see in the dark, into the unknown, the magic of the universe and the universal intelligence opens up, and you allow it to come through your own coding to embed, and you start operating from this new space of higher human consciousness. I can't begin to describe the freedom and the liberation and how you show up as a person, what happens in your business, what happens in every relationship, what happens to your bank account. Everything goes exponential when you are ready to do the work, take responsibility, and step into the all of you. Because you're not just this light being, you've got this, the sun can be switched on or off. Mm-hmm. And we have to go into the eternal darkness of all that is, as well as knowing the light. So it's deeper work, it's deeper concepts. But for those that are going, oh my God, this is new, this is what I want, this is it, to have that freedom where you can give up the people pleasing and the needing to belong and the needing to be loved, because you know how to light yourself up, fuel yourself, come from that place of, I am all of this and I have access to everything I'll ever need. Mm-hmm. Takes you out of the paradigm of fear, comfort zone, and smallness. And that's what people are so afraid. People are dying to live, literally dying to know how to live.
Yeah. Yes.
And I that's what I show them.
I love that. And I love that you said cultural conditioning, because for me, I think we don't even realize how ingrained in us that really is, and how confining that's my concept of it. How confining that can be, because it keeps you in a very small world. It's very limited. You're taught a small amount of knowledge by people who are taught a small amount of knowledge. It's just this cyclical pattern. And I love that that's a big piece of what you do, is help people break free of that and kind of open up to something deeper and bigger than.
Hugely. We have to get out the scientific base of requirement of intelligence and knowledge and into our innate wisdom and feeling. And but it's about using both together. And what I'm finding is that, a lot of people in shadow, and they get on the light grid and they start to awaken. And yes, that's great work, but they go to the other extreme. Well, I just need to be my feminine. I just need to feel the flow. And I just need to allow the universe to deliver. And it's all divine timing. Where's the sense of responsibility in that? Where's the ownership of conjunction and union with your own inner masculine and inner feminine, your inner family?
Right.
Is it your child that's still in the driving seat? Are you ready to step into your sovereignty and own it? And then when once you've mastered the light grid and you become your sovereign, you move into becoming a sovereign mystic, where you access all of the multifaceted versions of who you are. So you get away of being one small definition into the massiveness of who you are.
Yeah. I like that you said, who's in the driver's seat? Is the child still in the driver's seat? I think that's a lot of individuals are still living with that inner child, that wounded, scared, whatever that inner child is. That's what's driving all of the decisions, all of the reactions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's child and victim. It's child and victim. So people, again, on the light grid, there's very much conditioning. Oh, well, I understand what you've been through, and all these brownie points of being empathic. But when you enable someone to stick to their story, and you validate that story, you're encouraging them to stay as the victim, rather than going, let's cut the chase, let's cut the truth, let's get rid of the victim story, let's take it out of the system so you can actually grow up and stop blaming your story and blaming others for your circumstances, because you're addicted to the pain of the story. And that's what most people are living from. One of my offerings is pregnancy alchemy, helping women to get pregnant. It's like, when you have absolutely no doubt and you see the patterns of being able to work with that and do that, and take them, the reason they haven't got pregnant is because they haven't claimed their own gifts as a witch, right? So it's the same as, the reasons, so going back to the reason people are so addicted to, say, alcohol or drugs is that because they are unwilling to step into their own power. I have, my gosh, if, I'm sure I've done it in other lifetimes, and I'll have to come back for some more to do all the things that I actually want to implement, with working with these groups. But for me, that's, one of my expressions is being the witch of witches,
Yeah, I was
But
going to ask you about that, so I'm
yeah,
glad you went there with
yeah. And I
it.
thought I'll just touch on it because it's appropriate. Is that whilst I'm the catalyst for the change of creating the legacy leaders, who I love to work with are the women and men that are in the niches already working with these groups in society. So that I work with them to step into their magic, and then they create their own program and magic that can facilitate out into that. So for the people that are working with those with addictions, you work with me, so we create something brand new that's never been done before, stepping people into power that understands that niche. So whether it be addiction or this and that, and that's what I call is creating the dark disruptors. So that we get out of, oh, I'm a life coach for women in their 40s. Well, I mean, it's, let's get specific. Let's get your niche and what really floats your boat, and stop pretending you've got to be a cookie cutter of somebody else. I've got this bit of work and that bit of work, and I'll take what they've learned and I'll take what you've done and put it into that. It's like, stop copying, right? You've got to step into your own authenticity in your niche, in the area that you just lights you up and floats your boat.
Right.
So whilst I haven't worked with those groups specifically, I work with the people that do work with those groups. I do already, and calling in more.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really, your passion is helping and influencing influencers.
That's where I would really like to be moving into. So for the last 18 months, I have worked with individuals that are generally got their own business or about to start their own business. They've done the whole path of self-awakening. They know they're trying to pretend that they've got it together, and really they just want the truth. And the breakthroughs I have with other people that are in corporate, high level people in corporate doing that. So at the moment, it's sort of like two tiers, only just two groups. Is not making anything right or wrong or higher or lower or any of that stuff. People are so hung up on labels. It's another conversation.
Yes.
Where they are, what they're doing in their life. So there's what I call, I work with the people to unleash the alchemist for, the entrepreneurs. And then the dark disruptors are the influencers, are the people in the corporates, are the people that are really ready to unleash the stuff,
right.
Thousands at a time. So I am working with some, and that's where my work is going, to work with more. Yes.
Right. Okay. One thing I want to kind of circle back around, because we talked about on your website, and you say the witch of witches. Yes. So what I always think about is the misconception that a lot of people have around that word, witches. We have been culturally conditioned to believe that a witch is a bad thing. She wears a black cape with a pointy hat and flies around on a broom. So
I know.
My daughter brought up to me, gosh, it's probably been a year ago, that I can't remember how we started talking about Wiccan, and she was like, it's actually really fascinating, Mom. And I was like, I need to learn more about this. So this is the piece I want to help dispel that conditioning piece that everyone has fear. When you say witch, it brings up this evil connotation, and that's not what it's about at all.
Completely.
So help me help people understand.
Yeah. Well, when I had a meeting with one of these high mentors that I talked about, her first thing, she said, well, you are the witch of witches. And my honest reaction was like, me? No, I didn't take it on board. It was my reaction. And the other mentor called me the high priestess of the coven. And so within the space of a couple of weeks, I had these people very well respected, seeing into me as my true identity.
Wow.
Witchcraft is never something I've studied. I'm not a crystal junkie. I'm not a cape wearer. I don't have any point. I have a cat, if that's, it's about the only contribution to it. But look, again, come back to that thing of let's not get hung up on labels. Right. We have to get out of labels. We have to get out of definitions. We have to get out of the conditioning of what it means. I see witch as a term, an interchangeable term for the alchemist, the witch, the magic maker, the sage, the crone. It is using the depths of my abilities and wisdom that are within to help transform this world And I discovered the depths of my abilities, not because I learnt it, not because I read it in textbook, not because someone taught me, but because I went within and trusted the depth of the work that I could do. And I see the transformation within another, and I see the energy, and I see how they change. And if I have to define what it is, a witch is one of the terms. Yeah. So I, you know, again, with people, again, it's, as you say, it's the conditioning and the labels. And I have a bookshelf now on witch books, because I best learn what it is that I'm meant to be.
Right. Like, oh, let me learn about this.
It's been really fascinating. And one book I read, there was like 12 or 14 different types of witches, and I went, nah, none of that. And there was a couple that were the alchemists. And it's not even, oh, I've got this cauldron and I, you know, make some spells into it. I don't do any of that either. But there was the one category, again, was labeled as the alchemist. And that's the one that resonates. I know I have been the alchemist many times before. I know I've been a witch many times before in other guises. It's just not what I'm doing in this lifetime. And again, whilst I do not, I've ended the continual seeking and the education, I still have a very wide mind of curiosity to bring in what I need at that time to resonate. We're, in the new currency, the new energy of the new age, as people are calling it, we are moving out of just relying on our intuition into the language of synchronicity. So what happens is we go, okay, well, this is what I need to experience. This is what I desire to experience. And then all of a sudden, this shows up, that shows up, that shows up. And you're like, holy moly, I was just thinking about that, and then it turns up. And provided you continue to follow the dots and follow the synchronicities, you will always be given what it is that you require in that moment. So you're not relying on just, oh, am I hearing the voice? Because most people hear the shadow voice and not the true intuition. Most people ignore it, thinking it's the crazy voice in their head. But when we move into that combination of the intuition, which is actually your masculine energy and not your feminine, telling you what action you need to take in order to experience what it is that your feminine desires. Right? So again, there's so much we need to reverse. And it's another big part of what I do is helping people flip the perspective, flip the vision, flip the definition. So it's not about flipping it from being a dark, evil witch into a good witch. We're not talking Glenda the fairy here, but we're talking about changing your perspectives and definitions and conditioning on what you think it means. Because the sooner you break down the definitions that define your life and from the cultures, the sooner you start to find the freedom.
Yeah. When you were talking about masculine and feminine, I love thinking about both. What do you really mean with the masculine and feminine? Like, someone who has no idea, how do you help kind of explain that we have both? We do have both.
It's a great question. So we are not just, I'm not just, Joe as a woman that's lived one life, right? I am multifaceted, have lived through many, many lifetimes. I live in different dimensions. I did live in all these different areas. Just because I am in this form in this lifetime as a woman does not mean I have no masculine energy within me, right? Everything is polarity. Everything's duality in life and polarity that operates. So even for the scientists, right, or even for the non-scientists, the second grader, a battery has a positive and a negative end, right? It's called the female and the male end for a reason, right? The ions, it's the basics. You can't run a battery on just being, and it's funny actually, because it's the negative ions that are good for you in the air, right? So again,
right,
understanding the definitions. Oh, well, positive means good. Well, no, actually, when we're talking about energy, so the nature of one of my businesses, protector energy, where we have the devices that are neutralizing, they create negative ions, which are the positive things, right? So we have to get behind the energy. We have to get behind the understanding. And we have to understand that we've got both these energies within us. And so I see a lot of women that have been through the corporate world, run their masculine energy so firmly. They start to awaken, they start to hear about the goddess, they start to want to be the freedom, and they go to the other end of the scale of going, oh, this is fantastic. And you get to the point, you go, yeah, well, all very well being spiritual, but being broke spiritual isn't really going to move me forward. Probably what where's the man? Where's the man? I want to have children. Where's the money? You know, because they have no relationship with the male. It's about understanding and recognizing we both have the feminine and masculine energy running in us. And once we discover that and use it, the feminine is the flow and the vulnerability and the unknown. That's what I call the dark goddess energy of the 4D. See, here's another thing. Light gridders go, oh, we need to move out of 3D into 5D. And nobody's questioning what the 4D is for. Are they? No one is. The 4D is the space of the unknown. That's why they don't want to go there. We don't know what that is. We won't go there. Right? So actually, no, I'm going to take you into that void of the unknown of the 4D. We're going to get through the fog. We're going to get through the fog. So when you come into the 5D and can meet your energy of the masculine, which is light, which is the 5D, then you start to be in the union. And then you start to work in conjunction. Yeah, but there's so much that's missing out of light grid teachings that no one's questioning, because it's the same kind of regurgitated stuff. Just as we had the regurgitation through religion, just as we had the regurgitation of government control, we're now regurgitating the same light grid teachings, and there's been nothing new.
Really?
And
That's so true.
So true, right?
Yeah.
And so when people say, oh, yeah, 4D, why do we go through 4D? Well, I've just been told, because I've been told, because I've been told.
Right.
And people do not stop to question. They have no concept of how to discern the truth, where they're at, and what it is.
Wow.
Yeah. So does that answer a bit more about the masculine and feminine, the necessity of that, and we have that within, and finding that understanding, that polarity, so that they can come together?
Yeah. And is it common for the masculine, feminine to, I don't want to say fight, but maybe conflict with each other or have clashes, or is it a union once you really can bring it together? Maybe am I asking, do you understand what I'm even asking?
Yes, I totally know what you mean.
Okay, good.
When your feminine comes out of shadow, because it's your feminine that runs the shadow,
right?
When she comes out of shadow and moves into the 4D and can meet her masculine in the 5D, they're in the high feminine, high masculine.
Okay.
And they work together as the union.
Okay.
The only time you go into conflict and arguments is when you're back in shadow and back in fear.
Okay.
Only time.
Okay. Yeah.
So does it happen? Yes. But when you recognize what it is within yourself, and obviously there's also, whatever you're doing within also applies to your relationships outside, of course.
Right.
Right? Of knowing what to do, how to do it, how to recognize it. And are you going to answer it and deal with it from a place of sovereignty and your warrior for boundaries, or are you going to go back to your child and victim?
Right.
And so these archetypes that I'm mentioning, it comes from a body of work that I was introduced to a couple of years ago, and I use that as a foundation because people like labels. So I'm finding it a handy peg to put things on.
Right.
Beyond the archetypes, all that I brought forward is just a culmination. It's not a culmination of everything I've read in books. It's a culmination of lifetimes of that wisdom of living through it and recognizing that within another. And it's about striking that tone of truth that resonates within another. So for those that have got dark grid coding, they're like, oh my God, I need this. I'm sick of trying to fit in. I'm sick of sitting around holding hands, singing kumbayas, and do the crystals and all that, which I tried to do. And it was like, oh my God, no. Oh, and I tried.
Right. I love it. Yeah. And I do think that the one thing I hope this encourages someone to come to is that we all have a path, and you have to, like you said, there were so many things that came to you that you experienced, but none of them spoke to that inner soul of you. And you have to find that thing that really drives that, speaks to it, opens it up, whatever that is. Because I do think it's different for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. When I describe, when I sing my soul tone of truth, it's like somebody hears the doorbell going. I can hear the bell. I need to see who's at the door, and I need to open the door, and I invite people into my space. I invite people into my coven, and welcome those in that hear my tone, because my tone is not for everyone. you know, and it really is. But when we go deeper, it's like the soul is, again, this is what I used to teach for 5 years. Oh, well, when I know my soul purpose, I'll do it. It's like, actually, the soul is a filter programmed with your shadow from all the lifetimes. That's where we need to address, to take out the shadows from all those lifetimes and different places and spaces you've lived, to get rid of that filter so you have full access to what lies beyond.
So cool.
So whilst I taught, again, for many years, we need to find our soul, it's actually we need to go beyond the other side of that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's just
beyond, into your prodigy, into your genius, into the true essence that you have no concept of. And for some, it will require giving up your current gifts and abilities in this form, because you're playing in the shallows. And that was the one thing this mentor said to me years ago. She said, you keep dabbling, you keep playing in the shallows. Why do you do that? I said, well, to meet them where they're at, because I don't want to put them outside their comfort zone. She said, you've got to go in deep. You've got to, and I'm like, okay. And the sooner I started going in deep, the sooner I started presenting the truth, the sooner I can be clearly say to them, these are your masks, this is why you're wearing them, let's get rid of them, let's tune you in so you've got that expansiveness. Then my whole life revolutionized, because I was being true to what I am. I'm not pandering to people pleasing that you're taught on the light grid. That's how you're meant to operate, to empower people and make them feel good in coaching. Right. Not what I do.
Right. Fascinating. So let's go into, because I know you have some stuff coming up, and way for, like, if this is calling to someone, I would love for them to know how to connect with you, what things you have coming up that they can participate in.
Sure, great. So the way into my world is through an initiation.
Okay.
And you can go to my website, www.josephinesorciere.com. Don't get overwhelmed with, all the choices, because I like to be mysterious and make people actually do some work, finding their way, what resonates. So I have the Unleash the Alchemist or the King's Initiation, women, men, but they are much, they say they're much the same, but it's a different conversation with who I'm talking to.
Okay.
That's generally the place to start, is the initiation, Unleash the Alchemist initiation, or the King. Remember that. The Dark Disruptors is for the high flyers, the entrepreneurs, the well-established, the influencers, and all of that. So that's all on my website. So that initiation, spend 90 minutes with me, where I cut to the truth. I give you the reasons, and really rip off those masks, and then do the energy decoding, transmuting, and getting you into that space. So it's a visceral experience of what it feels like to be plugged in. I'll show you where the power cord for your own phone is, right?
Yes.
and plug you in and create the symbology that you anchor in. So I creating the sustainable coding and abilities and tools for you to move forward. So beyond the initiation, which can be a standalone thing if you just kind of want to know what it is, and if you're really attached just to doing the labels and who am I and what I am, and I want experience of it, it's a great taster. Okay. For those who want to go beyond that, I work with clients one-on-one for 3 months, or 4 if it's a dark disruptor. It's high-end work. I'm not going to pretend on that. It is high-end work, but it is for those that are going, there is nothing else it's more important than investing in myself and really getting to the truth of who I am and really finding the depths of who I am. And for those that are fully responsible for where they are and are ready to do the work, that's who I work with. And I choose who I work with, right? Not everybody comes through, right? So while I have the one-on-one, what I am doing coming up in about 6 weeks or so is group work for the first time. And whilst obviously it doesn't go to what I call the haute couture consciousness that I do with my one-on-ones, because I'm such an attention to detail with people as an individual, the group will be a very small group where we still absolutely cover the bases, and it will be in a group container to again provide people for that basis of transformation beyond anything the mind can comprehend. So that's what's coming up shortly. I have run recently a free challenge called Claim Your Ultimate Desire. Whether I do that again, I'm not sure. I create my life as art. I'm an artist. I'm a cosmic artisan. So I choose at the time whether I'm going to do it or not, because I create my life my way, right? So I'm not promising I'm going to do it again. I'm not promising it's going to be free. However, you can sign up on my website for that free challenge. I had 60 women through it in December, and a couple of men, and every single person that fully participated, massive breakthroughs, every single one. And I ran it last year, and they were like, this is beyond anything we've done before. So there's that as well. So we've got the freebie to sign up, initiation if you're really ready to move forward, and then we have a conversation after the initiation about the next stages. So that answers that.
Okay, I love that. Let's talk about ways that everyone can connect with you.
Yeah, great. Okay, so many people might know me from Insight Timer. And again, on that, you'll see, my name on there is Jo Muir, Josephine Sorciere. And I keep both my names because people can hear in my voice and the level of the work that I did, where I started on the light grid and the activations I created early on, into the depth of my work now. So they can actually see and hear and experience that range of info, so, activation. So I don't create meditations, I create high-end activations. So Insight Time or podcast channel of your choice, you can receive my activations. I have a YouTube channel and a Facebook group called Quantum Soul Alchemy. However, in there is some awesome training. That's a great place to start connecting. At the same time, I don't say that you need to know, like, and trust me before you start working with me, because if I have spoken to your soul today and it resonates, you take the terrifying action in the fear and go, oh my God, I don't know why, but I need to see her anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
We cut to the chase. That's what working the quantum is. We cut to it, we know it, and not, oh, well, I need to know her first. And does this make sense? And how much does it cost? And all the mind stuff that gets in our way. It's like, no, I want this new. I want the new. So, that's the way to contact me, or, through my website. You can do that. And by all means, my page and profile page, all the usual Facebook things to contact with me through. Right, so that's all good.
And I will definitely put all the ways to connect with you in the description on the YouTube channel and on the podcast, anywhere that this gets posted. I will have that for the audience. One thing that you said, and I really kind of want to touch on it, is it's work and it takes a commitment. Any growth, anything you do to grow, to learn more about yourself, it takes a commitment, and it's hard work.
It is.
I really want to stress that to anybody out there thinking about it. Commit, and it's so beneficial. Like I think you'll get so much out of it.
It's what's required, because with your commitment to doing the work and you step up in responsibility, you take ownership. And so many people want to be fixed, and so many light workers are happy to fix them, because they feel that, well, when I'm in service, I'm of value. I mean, that's again the whole. I limit myself, otherwise I go off into another tangent. But it's about you when you. The more work that you do, the more freedom you can have. You've got to understand the definition of paradox, right? And step into doing the work, taking the ownership. And it cannot be about money. It cannot be about time, which we are out of, coming out of those systems anyway. It's got to be from your soul resonance of, there is nothing more important than for me to know the truth and the depth and the power of who I am. And that requires work to discover that and shred away all the BS that's kept you shackled in your mind to human conditioning, cultural conditioning for this lifetime and many lifetimes. You have to be prepared to let your story go. Get out of your addiction to pain.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I love it. Love it. It has just been a pleasure. I feel like this is a really good place to kind of wrap up. Sure. Again, thank you so much for coming on, for educating me and the audience on just a deeper look at feminine, masculine, and really kind of understanding, I guess, quantum alchemy even.
Yep. Yeah. How to create magic in your reality.
And I did love that when you said that too. You said the magic makers, and I thought that's a fantastic way to really look at that.
Yeah. And magic can only be created through freedom. So unless you're willing to find the freedom of your mind, you cannot create magic.
Right. Oh, that's great.
I will end it on that. It's been
that's really good, right?
A pleasure to talk with you, Cassie. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And reach out, check in with your soul, your heart and soul, and then that's all I say.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And to all of you out there, Thank you for tuning in, listening, watching. Stay safe, stay curious, and I'll see you soon.